Tomokui was an ugly, lonely jerk with no aura and no chicks. He was so ugly just like you that a hot chick decided to end his miserable life by blessing him with her lightning blade. However, the god isn't going to let it slide, so he throws this burden in another world, and he has become even more uglier as a low-life goblin. He starts walking in just a couple of days, but one day, he realizes that he still has a unique ability from his previous, which will make him an overpowered lord in this world. Tomokui was getting punished by a hot chick, but there was red juice flying everywhere. Turns out that Tomokui loved Andrew's state, so he told her to go to the kitchen, and she pulled out her dagger to finish Tomokui once and for all. Suddenly, Tomokui opens his eyes to see an ugly old goblin who is surprised to see that the little brat is awake. Tomokui wonders what is going on, and the old man thinks of a name. He wants to call him Gobkichi, but instead, he picks Gobru as his name. Suddenly, he puts something slimy and disgusting in his mouth, and Tomokui goes to sleep. Turns out that Tomokui in fact died like a pathetic jerk and got reincarnated into this green brat. He sees that everyone around him is also a goblin, so he starts crying. However, in just 3 days, the goblins have turned 14, which is ideal for a pedophile. It turns out that the goblins can mature in just 3 days, and Tomokui is very happy that he finally got a second chance at life. The old goblin comes again and gives the last meal to the goblins before throwing them out of the house. Tomokui loves the disgusting slimy snail and eats it quickly. Meanwhile, he sees that another goblin is as impatient as he is. After that, they go outside the tree Kobrank, and it is revealed that the sky and the sun are just like Earth, but there are creepy birds and pathetic plants everywhere. Another goblin takes a look outside, and he is amazed to see the surroundings. Tomokui calls Gobkichi to come out, and Tom introduces himself as Gobru. Of all of the little goblins, Gobkichi is the biggest one, that's why Gobru has teamed up with him. They venture into the forest and find a cheaper unicorn, which is a rabbit. Gobkichi follows the rabbit while Gobru ambushes it from a tree and kills the rabbit with one hit. Suddenly, Gobkichi's mouth fills with water, and he was about to suck the whole thing when Gobru punishes him. Just like you, Gobkichi doesn't have manners, so Gobru teaches him some after knocking him out. After that, he picks up a stone and breaks the horn when suddenly, the cheaper solo leveling system shows that he has got a horn. In the meantime, Gobkichi gets up, so Gobru shares the rabbit with him, and he starts crying. Together, the two bastards become amazing S-rank hunters of rabbits, and the horns work way better than Gobru expected. But the cheap solo leveling system keeps popping up. However, nobody else can see it, and Gobru remembers that he had an amazing absorption ability back in his previous life. This ability allowed him to eat literally anything, including cow's crap, and gain its ability. But all of his previous life's abilities are completely gone, so Gobru is fortunate to have this since there are a lot of strong monsters lurking in the forest. When they go back into the cave, they meet Gobmi, who is amazed that these two low-life creatures are eating horned rabbits because they can pack anyone with just a single hit. Gobmi wants to get laid by Gobru, but he is Andrew Tate's fan, while Gobkichi is lame just like you. The next day, the goblins don't go for a hunt due to the rain, but Gobru wants to be productive, so he goes to the storage section to craft some weapons. However, he finds some human women there, and they have nothing to cover themselves. Gobru wanted to clap because he hadn't in his previous life, but these women still wanted him to be a virgin. As Gobru is crafting his weapon, the old lad named Gobuji arrives and tells him that he is impressed by his abilities. He shows him a trick to check the levels, and turns out that Gobuji is on level 86. He reveals that once a goblin reaches level 100, he can evolve into a hobgoblin. But Gobuji thinks that Gobru is just a bastard, and he is not cut out to be a hobgoblin. The next day, the team grabs a bunch of snakes and bevers, and after eating those, Gobru gets new abilities. The next day, the goblin thinks to recreate man was wild, so they go inside a back cave where they shit their pants after seeing them. However, Gobru uses his evil eye and stops the bats in midair so they can start smacking them. As they eat the bats, the rest of the goblins see them in despair, so they ambush Gobru at night. Thanks to Gobru's ability, he knew about the ambush and kicks the crap out of them while accidentally killing one of them. The next day, they find an orc and take him down easily, but after eating their half, he takes the rest of the animals to the cave. He offers them to the goblins, and they think that Gobru is some kind of a king. On the same night, Gobru gets a message if he wants to evolve, and the next day he wakes up, he finds himself bigger and stronger. Gobkichi has also turned into a hobgoblin, and Gobuji shits his pants after seeing this. Gobkichi wants to test his strength, and so the two hobgoblins fight each other. Although Gobru is able to take him down, he knows that Gobkichi has more Taw strength. Suddenly, they hear the voice of wolves, so Gobru rushes towards them, and Godmi grabs the poison crossbow to take them down from a distance. The trio takes down the pack of wolves with ease, and when Gobru eats the wolf, he hits new abilities, including the leadership one. He takes the wolves back to the cave and acts as a leader, maybe due to his ability. He tells the other goblins that he will teach them how to hunt and how to make new weapons. This leads to huge praise from all of the goblins, and they believe that Gobru is their leader from now on. After a couple of days, Gobru wakes up Gobuji and shows him that a bunch of goblins had eaten poison after clapping the human women. They lit their bodies as a memorial, and now they need more women. Gobrow starts training the little goblin kids so they can become a Sigma Chad, but they think that the training is hard as... Suddenly, Gobrow sees that someone is approaching, so he pulls out his sword, and turns out that they are not raiders but the fathers of their generation. They are strong and fierce goblins who have brought women and food for the lot. Due to the goblins' strong DNA and genetics, the offspring are always goblin, no matter the species. Gobrow sees the new women and asks the hobgoblin if he can take care of them, but the hobgoblin is a cocky bastard who wants to pick a fight with Gobrow. Seeing this, the rest of the goblins turn against him and a fight is about to break out. Suddenly, Hobsadi and Hobsai arrive to tell the lot that the leaders will fight to decide the leader of the goblins. In just a quick punch, Gobrow finishes the hobgoblin and uses the silk to tie him. Now, Gobrow is officially the new leader of the group, and he tells all of the other group goblins not to touch the human women. He goes to them and tells them not to be scared as he is not going to hurt them. He just wants to learn about the knowledge these humans have, and the women start crying. The next morning, the redhead greets Gobrow, and they seem pretty calm. Instead of focusing on hunting, Gobrow focuses on the goblins' physical training, but some can't keep up. So he punches the woolsmith out of them, and this infuriates the rest of the elder goblins. At night, Gobkichi and Gobrow engage in an intense sparring session. After that, they go to sleep, but the hobgoblins want to taste the human women. So they try to sneak up on them, but Gobrow knows their plan, so he beats the shit out of them. He ties the bastards and tells Gobmi to gather everyone outside the cave. He uses his web and ties all of them, and he hangs Hopkin upside down and leaves him half dead. By the next morning, Hopkin is already dead while the rest are on the verge of death. Their next target is the triple horn horse, and its body is so strong that even the crossbow can't pierce it. But they manage to take it down, and Gobrow gets the ability of Threeth Gobrows, which allows him for a triple damage on hit. At night, as Gobrow is sleeping, the redhead comes near him and sleeps with him. After a while, Gobmi also joins them, and Gobrow thinks that he is living his dream life. He appoints everyone as head of something, and now he ventures deeper into the forest to test his magic skills. He sees a three-horned horse and throws a magic blast towards him, which blows its head instantly. This excites him even more, and he makes the worst mistake of his life. He goes to the northern side of the forest and finds a blood trail. Suddenly, he remembers what the old man had told him about the red giant grizzly bear who lives in the northern area of the forest. The ground starts vibrating as the mighty bear appears right in front of Gobrow. Since this is a rip-off of solo leveling, instead of Gobrowning away, Gobrow jumps into action. Back at the cave, Gobmi is worried about Gobrow, and she asks other members if they have seen Gobrow, but turns out that he never returned. Gobrow's magic blast aims right at the bear's head, but it blocks the blast with the arm. The bear shows a sign of intelligence, which makes Gobrow even more excited. He uses his claws to take out Gobrow, but thanks to the snake eyes, he is able to predict those attacks. After that, he uses his spider silk to bind the bear, but all in vain. The bear beats kids more brutally than your dad did, so he uses his fire breath. Gobrow barely manages to evade it, but he charges again and uses a water shield to protect himself, but ends up stabbing the inside of the bear's mouth. However, the bear throws Gobrow flying into the trees with his claw. It is not going without a fight, and Gobrow gets even more excited because he can go all out on this bear. After a long day of fighting, Gobrow manages to defeat it, but he has been stabbed in the gut by the bear's claw. As he was dying, he ate the bear meat and selected the evolved option. The next day, Gobrow goes back to the cave where everyone is shocked to see him. Gobuji tells him that Gobrow is not a hobgoblin anymore, but he has turned into an ogre. After all the talking, the redhead girl and Gobmi start to follow Gobrow everywhere he goes. He first wants to cheer up the humans, so he goes to the blacksmith girl and appreciates her help, which pisses off the redhead and Gobmi. After that, the two sisters want to have some goblins to help them in cooking, so Gobrow says that he will give some goblins to them. Hearing this, they get all cheered up, and Gobrow wants to clap them hard, but he knows that two witches are behind him. After that, he goes to the chemist, who tells Gobrow that she is preparing some potion, but Gobrow senses that there is poison. The woman apologizes because she had to make some as a source of protection. However, she now trusts the goblins and doesn't need any poison. Gobrow picks her up and she smiles in excitement, but suddenly, Gobrow senses the killer's intent coming from the redhead and Gobmi. Turns out that the girl needed more time to play with Gobrow than he had expected. But there is one big issue. Due to Gobrow's large size, he can't spar with anyone, and even Gobkichi loses his breath. Gobrow apologizes for hurting them, and Gobkichi looks a bit more tired than usual. Gobrow asks if he is okay, but Gobkichi says that he is going for a hunt. Afterward, Gobmi and Hobseta go hunting while Gob is still hunting for the spirit stones. Since Gobrow has lost his arm, he can't do anything but stitch some good clothes for himself. He asks Hobse if Gobkichi is alright, but she doesn't give a crap and just wants to read her book in peace. The next day, Gobrow is having lunch when Gob brings an injured carbuncle. Gobrow quickly heals her up and she appreciates his help. Turns out that it was an artificial carbuncle formed by a mage named Velvet who wanted to hide all of his treasures after his death, but some humans hunted her down. Her core was heavily damaged and she would die sooner or later, so she offers her treasure to Gobru rather than humans, so he calls everyone and tells them that they are going for the treasure. As Gobru enters the treasury, he finds the mercenaries who are after the carbuncle. He offers to let them go if they want to, but the bastards think they are from One Punch Man, so they aim at Gobru's head. One of them casts a lightning spell and this pisses him off. He goes on a rampage and starts throwing the bastards here and there. The rest of the gang also appears and Gobru finds that there are some strong artifacts on these adventurers. So he swallows all of them, and he also finds a magic box that can store hundreds of items at once. Gobru uses this box to collect all the reassure from the old wizard. The carbuncle appreciates Gobru's help and she vanishes. After collecting all the treasure, Gobru burns the body, which reveals a magical arm. Gobru picks it up and it quickly binds with his arm. This is like a new chapter of your favorite manga where everything starts to go well. Everyone is strong as hell and Gobru is making his own harem like every other anime you have watched. After a couple of days, he finds a dryad who are seductive women and preys on others' nutrients. This is the perfect time for plotting, and hours pass by before Gobru go browns out of energy. However, he thinks that nobody notices, but the girls start to ignore him. He doesn't know because he doesn't have a brain, so he goes to the chemist who tells the mindless dumbass that he has hickeys on his neck. Now the chemist also wants to join the action, and suddenly the rest of the girls also summon themselves. With no other option, Gobru uses his new golden spider silk to soundproof the room and lives a passionate night. Thanks to Buru's enhanced abilities, he can now sense and detect enemies in a wide range. It turns out that a bunch of elves are at the Goblin Cave and they want Gobru's help. But it is not help, meaning that the elves are going on a war and they want Gobru to join them, and if he doesn't, he will be punished. Gobuji says that they only have a month of food, but Gobru intergobraps him and tells the elves to do this crap somewhere else. If they really want someone's help, they should be sincere, and this pisses off the elf brat. He pulls out his sword, and with the help of the evil eye, Gobru freezes all of them in their place. He picks up the leader from his neck and tells him to order his archers to lower their weapons. However, someone still shoots and Gobru breaks the arrow with his teeth. All of them piss their pants in fear and go brown away. The next day, Gobru hunts down gray slimes, which gives him the ability to make little copies of himself. This comes in handy as the brainless elves come back for revenge. Gobru is tired of this shit, so his mighty scream is enough to scare them. He then uses his spider silk and ties all the bastards. The Waifus and the elves tell Gobru that they warned this piece of crap to not do this, but he didn't listen. So Gobru offers them a chance to be free and says that he will let them go if they beat his goblins in training. Out of the 23 elves, 6 of them lost and Gobru eats them while the leader is dead for good. Meanwhile, Ecchi is still in the forest hunting down animals, and he finally reaches level 100. When he returns, he rizzes up everyone as he has turned into a red giant. Gobru is impressed by the skills he has got from the demigods, and now they want to fight again. The sparring is pretty exciting for both lads as they go toe-to-toe with each other, but in the end, Gobru kicks his ass again. On the same night, a man comes in Gobru's dream and gives him kinship, but he quickly wakes up to find nobody. Thanks to Ecchi, 4 goblins have also turned into hobgoblins, and one of them is Gobru's siblings named Gobji. To fire up Gobru, Hobzai has also evolved and she's become a half-spell lord. She is overflowing with mana, so she wants to show Gobru what she can do. Hence, they go outside and the bitch sets the half-forest on fire. She wants to show even more magic, but Gobru tells her to keep it cool for now. He also gives her new artifacts, but the training session is too much for the older generation of the goblins. So the old lads want to leave the village, and Gobru has no problem at all, but he gives them a mithril knife with his blood on it as a parting gift. The next day, Gobru finds an orc who has killed a human, and Gobru kills it to get the ability of monster taming. At night, he asks everyone if they want to leave like the older generation, but no one stands up. This satisfies Gobru, and he makes earrings for all the villagers to stay connected with each other. Gob has also progressed a lot, and she has become a lot stronger. Gobru wants to test out his new ability, so he tames the tri-horn horse, then the gray bear, and also tames the leader of the wolves to protect the girls. Gobru finds out that the redhead has quite an interesting ability, and she has become stronger as a warrior. She's about to eat, but suddenly, something feels off. She just unlocked a new job. She keeps hunting monsters, leveling up quickly. Her new job is called Norse Soldier, allowing her to grow stronger at an accelerated rate, but only if she keeps consuming monsters. Gobji informs Gobru that humans have some goblins in the woods. He immediately understands that the war has started. Before they can act, a group of kobold rushes toward the cave, chased by a horde of skeletons. Gobru orders his men to fight, but their weapons are useless. Then he senses that their leader at the back. Something is spawning the skeletons. Hobseto struggles to keep up, but when she strikes a skeleton with her weapon, it suddenly crumbles. Gobru realizes they're too weak to blunt attacks and orders everyone to fight with their fists. He steps forward and tells them to stand back because he has low timing and only needs 10 seconds. Charging in, he smashes through the skeletons and reaches their leader, destroying it with a single strike, and in just 7 seconds, the battle is over. Afterward, he consumes the leader, absorbing its abilities. The kobolds, overwhelmed, recognize Gobru as their master, saying they owe him their lives. They explain that they had accidentally dug into a treasury, awakening its guardian. Gobru reminds them that goblins have killed kobolds before, but they don't resist. They admit they are weaker than goblins and leave their fate in his hands. He decides to help them recover. While hunting with Gobkichi, they unexpectedly spot a strange group of people. Gobru decides to follow them and uses his ability to find out that they are trying to kidnap the daughter of the elf chief. Not only that, there is a snake in the elves who leak the information. They wait until night, and the daughter of the chief passes through the forest with a bunch of elves. The humans attack, killing the other elves, and they're about to capture the girl, but Gobru jumps in and saves the day. He takes the men and interrogates one of them to find out that the humans plan on attacking them in around 20 days. The girl eventually wakes up, but she's shocked to see Gobru and wonders if he saved her ass to start his plotting. She lashes on her boy, but Gobru pushes her back, mentioning that how they are involved in the issues between the humans and elves. He also tells her about the traitor, and she apologizes. The next day, Gobru and Gobkichi take her to the elf's village. Gobru detects several archers. The girl tells them to stand down, calling them her saviors. The duo meets with the chief, and Gobru mentions he didn't save his daughter out of kindness, so the chief rewards them. Gobru just wanted to check how much the king cared, so he shared some information about the human army with the king. They end up as allies and exchange further things, but the best reward is the booze that the king gave them, and Gobru is ready to die for the elves. The king also asks Gobru has seen about 20 elf soldiers, but he pretends not to know anything. The next morning, Gobru goes to wake. Gabi finds she has evolved into a variant thanks to her blessing from the god of ice. She can now control large amounts of ice, and her eyes also have a bewitching effect that can seduce her enemies. Gob has also evolved into a half-earth lord, and she can manipulate terrain as well as detect ores and increase strength. Meanwhile, Hobseto has become a half-blood lord who can manipulate blood. As the war is approaching, Gobru decides to train everyone in his village, even the elves and the kobolds, so he gives everyone the communication earrings, but the elves refuse to wear them, so Gobru ends up striking a deal at night. Gobru gets a new ability after taking down the skeleton knight, so now he can summon various skeletons ranging from normal warriors to rare ones. He can summon hundreds of them, but when they are exposed to sunlight, they die just like you. The kobolds are the weakest, so he trains them even harder and captures a bunch of more wolves. Gobru finds that the halberd he used against the red bear has taken a new shape thanks to Emery, and now she wants more clapping. Gobkichi and Gobru are sparring with each other when Gobkichi reveals that he has feelings for Gob, so Gobru motivates him like Andrew Tate because he knows that Gob will reject him. But Gobru is a brainless brat, and Gobkichi gets a new girl. After a couple of days, the regular squad goes and kills a bunch of more unseen insects, and Gobru gets the ability to use an exoskeleton, which gives him a suit of armor that is built in healing and impact absorption. But the clothes are used for the armor, so Gobru ends up showing his abs at night to everyone. Not only that, the exoskeleton can adapt to different terrains like flying and swimming, which is quite an upgrade, but Gobru struggles to get used to them. Some days go by and everyone is improving a lot when suddenly a bunch of goblins arrive and they ask Gobru for his help. The humans have started attacking them and they need Gobru, so he gives the little guy a communication bracelet so the king can talk with him. The elves also saw their comrades sparring with each, however, due to Gobru's magical earrings, they appear as dark elves. Gobru is excited because he has his copies roaming around in the forest, so he knows everyone's moves. He gathers everyone and tells them that they're going all out to kill those sneaky human bastards that are running their peace. He gives the name Parabellum to their new mercenary party, as it means that war is coming. After hearing the yapping of the elves and their threat to cancel their agreement if Gobru doesn't help them, Gobru says that he will take out the humans, but they will act freely and not under the elves. Saying this, he grabs his gray bear and a bunch of his soldiers to attack the human camp nearby. Turns out that one of Gobru's copies found the camp while scouting the forest, and this is the first hunt for the Parabellum mercenary group. However, the camp is surrounded by a magical shield that blocks any monster or attack. Gobru tells everyone to surround the area, and he turns his metal arm into a magical crossbow which destroys the barrier with a single hit. The humans are shocked, and Gob uses her earth magic to cast a rock barrier around the camp. Gobsato and Gobmi use their barrage attacks to give some time to Gobru to summon his skeleton. He then uses his arm like a machine gun, but the humans are not going down without a fight. They have a handful of good heroes, and a young female knight is leading the charge. She knows that Gobru is the bastard who is summoning the skeletons, so she tells her friends to buff her up, and she charges at Boru with a speed faster than Usain Bolt. However, Gobru just flicks her like a doll and sends her flying in the air. Gobru is impressed by her skills and wants to take her alive, but the knight thinks that the ogre is just a pervert. Gobru tells the rest of the guys to capture the heroes while killing the rest. So Gobmi uses her evil eye to turn the knights on each other, while Gobsato uses her blood manipulation and kills the remaining knights. Now only the commander is left, and the mage casts a magical dragon to take out Gobro. The female knight is ready to die while taking out the giant bastard, but Gobro doesn't want her to die just yet, so he backs her up and combines a bunch of magic to cast a shield that destroys the dragon. The female knight is amazed to see this, and back at the cave, the careless elf chief arrives, who apologizes for not teaming up with him but still throws a party. Gobro checks on the prisoner, and on that night, he claps the female knight. He uses his magical earrings to get the information out of the prisoners, and although it is unimportant to him, he shares it with the elf chief. He reveals that the humans are going to attack them from all directions, so they should be careful. The next day, the party is ready to ambush a bunch of 500 infantry soldiers along with 100 wizards. Gobro signals the army, and they ambush them. The giant boulders turn their number from 500 to 300 in seconds, while Goblin and her crossbow squad take down the rest of them from a longer range. The commander of the squad seems very intelligent, so Gobru orders Gobkichi to bring him alive. Gobkichi is very excited because the commander of the squad is a well-trained fighter, and he goes toe-to-toe with Gobkichi. After a while, Gobkichi brings the commander, and they go back to the cave. The knight is a commoner named Krauback, and he is put alongside the rest of the humans. Gobru brings him out to interrogate him, and it is revealed that the princess of the kingdom is suffering from a very rare disease which has a very low chance of survival. She was supposed to marry the king of the empire, that's why he ordered the humans to look for the elf medicine which can heal anything, even the scars that your ex gave you. After that, Gabi discovers a hot spring, so Gobru Trunks turns it into a sauna and everyone relaxes in it. After that, the prisoners are thrown into combat training with Gobse and Gami as the leader of each group. On the other hand, Krauback is tired of training with the Bone Knights, so he challenges Gobro for a match. Gobru is impressed by his courage, so he uses magic to buff him up, otherwise he would die in a second. The brat is very good in hand-to-hand combat, but Gobru punishes him like your dad beats you. After that, Gobru heals him, and Gobkiki also wants to try hands with him. Everyone is impressed by Krauback, and he also wants to join Gobru, so he removes the collar on his neck. The next day, Gobru takes the injured prisoners to the chief and wants them healed up. He also asks about the magical potion, and the chief reveals that he has already given it to Gobro, so the humans can't get it. Gobro drinks the medicine, which gives him the medicine's blood ability, and his single drop of blood can heal an entire person. Gobru is shocked to see such an overpowered ability and wonders what else he can do with it. After a few days, another human army arrives to take on the elves, and one of their commanders is having a great time when suddenly, a giant spear pierces right through his gut and kills him instantly. Gobru uses his spear ability to pull out an infinite number of spears, which kills half of the army. After just 20 minutes, the humans are long gone to hell, and Gobru uses a slime to absorb their bodies. The next day, Gobru takes the girls to the elves' village, and everyone is concerned about the humans. However, the chief is a Chad who doesn't give a F if you are a human because he just wants to drink the booze. After talking about the strategy with the chief, the party is returning home when the night girl asks if Gobru can do her a favor. She says that she wants to complete her duty as the knight of the kingdom, and she needs the elvish medicine for the princess. Gobru remembers that there are 5 gods in this world, and he has the blessing of the god of demise and origin. So if he gives away the medicine, it can cause trouble for him. However, he can also get the kingdom as a backup in case of emergency, so he agrees to do so. To finish the human war once and for all, Gobru decides to take on the final camp at dawn, which consists of more than 2,000 soldiers. But the real problem is the Braves. One of Gobru's replicas heard that the Braves will be joining the humans, which are like S-tier heroes from solo leveling, and they are blessed by the abilities of the gods. Not only that, they can also buff their nearby soldiers. Gobru summons a horde of skeletons, but it is dawn, so the sun will be coming up soon. However, Gobru has a plan. He tells everyone to clear the perimeter, and the skeletons rush towards the center of the base. Just as the sun arises, the Gobru replicas coat the skeletons, and now they can fight even in the sunlight. Then, Gobru steps in, and he is tired of these low-life creatures and wants to end them quickly. As the battle is going on, one of the Braves arrives, and he is amazed to see this black ogre. He wants to make him a slave, but Gobru senses the evil aura coming from this brat. The kid is named Filippo, and he is blessed by a demonic insect god. The brat uses some worms on the dead soldiers, which turn them into zombies, but they are not affected by the sunlight. Then they suddenly turn into human-sized insects, which is a nightmare for gens. But these insects can't keep Gobru down, and he kills them instantly. Filippo is amazed to see this, so he uses his special weapon, which is a giant centipede. It has immense venom and bites Gobru with full force. Everyone notices this, but Gobru is already dead. The brat sends the centipede back to his hole, but Gobru vanishes as well. He appears with a surprise attack, and the brat barely manages to dodge it. He is impressed by Gobru's tricks, so he pulls out some more insects, but Gobru shocks him. This reveals his true insect form, and Gobru uses his exoskeleton ability to turn into an insect as well. On the other hand, the battle between the rest of the army is going on, but Gami senses that Gobru is in trouble. The brat is out of luck and Gobro isn't going to let him get away, but he pops out of his insect form and runs away butt naked. Gobro chases him, but the insect suit is still active, so Gobro finishes it off, which gives Filippo the chance to run away. Gabi rushes towards Gobro and she is happy that he's alive. Meanwhile, a Gobro's replica has reached the military camp of the king and he tells him to run away as they don't want to kill anyone anymore. He also gives the elvish medicine to the knight and tells him to take his forces back. The war stops and everyone is injured thanks to it. About 30 members of the Parabellum mercenary party are dead, so the rest mourn for them and Gobru turns them into ash. The next, Gobru gets up to see that a bunch of lads has evolved and one of them is her sister Gobfu. Meanwhile, his brother Gobji has turned into a half-lord saint and can quickly heal up anyone. Gofu has become a ghoul because she the bitch always ate the zombies that Gobrow had already expected that this would happen. Gobru is a bit scared of her cause she is always acting like a girl whose father never returned after he went to bring the milk. Suddenly, Gobru runs into Gob, who has become a Dodomeki, and her body is covered with eyes which give her the ability to look at anyone from anywhere from any angle, and she will act as a good toy for detecting foes. Gobrow checks on the kobolds and he sees that their leader has also evolved. He has become more like a human-faced dog, but the dog reveals that he has gained a true name, calling himself something I can't even pronounce. Out of nowhere, the old lad Gobuji steps up and explains that true names are special names that individuals are granted after evolving to a certain level. However, these names are very dangerous because if an enemy learns it, they can cast certain spells like curses on the true name owner, so it's better to keep these names a secret. But Akita reveals it to Gobru as a sign of his loyalty. After finishing up with the kobolds, Gobru wonders what to do with the prisoners, so he tells them they're free to leave or they can stay as temporary members. A bunch of cocky brats and heroes are unhappy with this decision because they don't want to be treated like unprofessional rookies and they think that they are much stronger than these low-life goblins. Gobrow tells them to leave because he trusts these goblins more than these bunch of jackasses with no riz or aura. But the leader of these heroes has a stone for brain, so he suggests fighting for control of the Parabellum. Gobrow knows that he can kill them with his fart, but he still decides to humor them. He tells them to attack him together, and they activate their orb weapons as we learn that they boost their users. But Gobrow is so overpowered that he sends them flying with just a single blow. Suddenly, Gobrow gets hit by a sneak attack and gets sent into a rock thanks to King Kong, and the stupid monkey calls himself the boss. However, Gobrow suddenly punches him back and leaves him on the verge of death. Gobrow looks for the half-damper but sees him flirting with Gobby, so he gives him a beating your grandpa used to give to your grandma. Gobby stops him, and he gives the man some of his blood to heal him. The half-damper approaches them again because he has fallen in love with Gobrow after tasting his blood. However, Gobrow isn't into it, so he gives him another beating. Finally, they ended up with 50 new provisional members. Gobrow introduces Emery to some dwarves and asks her to get along since dwarves are said to be the best craftsmen. As a token of appreciation, the dwarves give him a new warhammer. Gobrow goes on a walk in the woods and he thinks about how much things have changed, but the dryad suddenly appears. She starts asking if he wants to have some fun, but Gobrow tries to turn her down. However, Gobrow is a true man of culture and can't let this moment slide, and when he gets back to the village, the girls get pissed after seeing all the kiss marks on his face. After that, Bor takes the gang to grow crops as we see that he went to the Dryad to get magical seeds. Thanks to these seeds, the food grows faster and has more nutrients. We see that the prisoners have also been released, but they've all been seduced by Game's evil eye, so they basically become spies for them. Gobrow learns that the army has started to completely withdraw and the elf chief is glad that it's over, so he invites Rue to join their party. Gobrow uses the skeleton bone and some slime to make a skeleton centipede. He shows it to the girls and he explains they can use it as a vehicle. He plans to take them back to their home, so the girls wonder if they're being kicked out, but Gobrow makes them aware of the first promise he made to them. He wants to fulfill his promise and take them home. After that, the girls can decide whether they want to stay with him or leave the village. At night, a feast is arranged to officially welcome the new members. The next day, before they head off, Gobrow splits everyone into groups, telling them to gather more information about the outside world, but reminds them that they have to come back in one piece. They all head off and Gobrow thinks things will not be the same without everyone around. However, Gobrow wants to look forward to finding even stronger opponents and eating their meat, but for now, they decide to head towards the city of Trent. Gobrow and the rest of the girls reach the city of Trent, which has around 25% of the demi-human population, but they are still scared to see such a big ogre with beautiful waifus. Thanks to Gobrow's friends, he is able to get some luxury rooms and tells the girls that they are free to decide whether they want to live in the forest or in this city. However, our boy doesn't want any of them to go since they were abducted by the goblins. He will respect their choice. After that, they go into this city and Gobrow gets attacked multiple times, but they end up beating everyone. The old man asks if they are doing business for the first time, and the redhead says that she will do the paperwork like a good wife. Now the girls want to buy some new clothes, but Gobrow is a Sigma boy, so he disguises himself as he was in his previous life. Tomokui. He senses that everyone is talking about the ugly ogre, and suddenly he gets attacked by a bunch of low-life bandits. With just a fart, Gobru takes them out and eats their meat, but he notices that these guys have rings on their hands. This means that they belong to a common group, and after that, he sees a kid getting harassed by people from the same group. They want more money from the brat if he wants to see the princess once again. The guy pulls out his swords, but the bastards have the numbers game, so Gobru jumps in and kicks their ass. However, he uses his replicas as a slime on them to find their hideout, but the kid gets pissed, so Tomokui shows his true form. At night, the kid goes to Gobru and tells him that the princess wanted to live a peaceful life out of the kingdom's protection, and she ended up getting kidnapped. Gobru knows the location of the hideout, so he goes to the villa, kicks the kidnappers' butts, and brings the princess alive. He tells the kid not to tell the truth to anyone, and Genki uses his hypnotism to erase his memory. The next day, we see that a bunch of goblins are born in the cave, and Gobru is happy that a new generation is ready to be trained. He asks the girls if they want to stay in the village, but the ogre is so dumb that they have already packed their bags to head into the forest. Suddenly, the tomboy princess from last night appears, and she is Ruburia, the princess of the kingdom. She insisted on telling the truth, and he was forced to do so. She wants Gobru to return her to the royal capital of Oswell. Gobru is shocked as to what kind of a spoiled brat she is, and he refuses his offer. He wants her to go with the guards and lectures her for an hour, but she keeps smiling. They offer a gold plate to them, which is worth around 1 million gold coins. The girls are shocked, and they want their giant ogre to accept the offer. With no other option, the greedy bastard accepts the offer, and they head off to the royal capital. Meanwhile, the guards are still searching for the princess in the city. The princess is a very curious girl, and she keeps asking about different things because she has been under tight security. They see a herd of buffalo and make a steak out of their meat, and the princess is amazed to eat it. After that, they continue their journey, and the princess ends up dying on multiple occasions. Her curiosity leads her to the verge of death, so Gobru gives him a punishment. Meanwhile, the boy turns out to be the knight of the kingdom, and he has been looking after the princess since she was a child. However, Gobru wants him to be strong, and they start their morning training. The princess also learns how to swing a sword, but that is good for now. At night, they discuss how they are going to go to the capital since the cliffs are very dangerous because they are home to the Falaise eagles. Gobru wonders who the hell are these eagles, and turns out that they are the apex predators on the mountain. But the main problem is their leader, the Jade Eagle, who has the powers of the blessings. Gobru thinks for a second and decides to go to the Jade Eagle, which scares everyone. The next day, Gobru takes out the low-life eagles and eats their meat. That's when the Jade Eagle appears, Genki, Neki, and Fuki, and scared to death, and they start devising a plan to run away if Gobru loses. Gabu tells them to shut their mouth because Gobru fought the Red Bear for a whole night and ultimately won. After an hour, destruction stops, and we see that Gobru is limbless. Suddenly, he eats his arm to bring his leg and arm back and uses the exoskeleton to take on the eagle. He quickly wraps the battle after finding out the weak spot and eats the soul stone. This gives him the ability to turn his exoskeleton into more like the Jade Eagle. After the fight, he eats the eagle, and the princess asks why Gobru eats his prey. Gobru remembers that he was asked the same question in his previous life, so he gives the same answer. He says that his kills are his own and he wants to take their grudges with him, so he eats them. This is just a weird answer, but the princess is fine with it. The party reaches a remote village, and everyone there is a human, so they get pissed off to see an ogre. They pick up their weapons, but the princess uses her magical weapon to tell these low-life peasants that she is the daughter of the royal capital. Everyone makes way for her, and Gobru is impressed by it because he has only seen this in ancient books. After the mayor gives them his home to stay, they go to the waterfall, and Ruburia pissed off Gobmi by throwing water on her. At night, they have an amazing dinner, and Gobru shares the elf's booze with them, which makes everyone lose their mind. Thanks to this, one of the villagers accidentally spanks Gobmi, and Gobru ends up beating the kid. They have an amazing night, and the next day they leave for the Crumble Mountains. Suddenly, Gobru notices that the two sisters are pale, so they tell him that they are tired after making the food last night. After a few hours, the bellies of the sisters start to buff like a balloon. Gobru quickly calls Gobji, and he tells him that they are bearing an ogre child, so they are consuming the nutrients very fast, and soon they will be born. However, if the nutrients run out, the human girls can die. Gobru can't let that happen, so he tells the girls to hold on, and although they seem strong, they start to run out of energy. There is nothing high in nutrients nearby, so Gobru grabs his arm and detaches it from his body. The meat is too hard for the girls, so Gobru eats his arm and gives it to the girl in a chivalry way. They reach a cave, and the demons quickly clear the bears. The bellies are still growing, so Gobru uses his healing anesthesia abilities on both of them. He doesn't want to lose these beautiful girls, so he picks up his doctor's knife and operates on the girls. Two healthy ogre babies are born, and one is a girl while the other is a boy. Gobru is still shaking because of the fear, but he is glad that everyone is fine. He calls Gobuji, and the old lad tells him that his children can be of mixed blood. Out of 1,000,000 cases, one of them results in such a way that the children end up being of mixed blood, meaning that they have the traits of both monsters and humans. In the end, they become a harmful monster because of their entangled minds, and Gobro tells the old lad that he has been a great help. However, he will raise the children whether they are a mix of blood, human, or ogre. Goji also tells Gobro that next time they can just pull out the babies and give them nutrition instead of the girls. The girl is named Oro and the boy is named Argento because he came in accidentally just like you. Heavy snow starts to fall at night and Gobro senses a strong creature nearby that he has never seen earlier. So he goes to have a look at this beast, but it turns out to be a beautiful white stag. This is the first time Gobro is sensing the fear of death, so he prepares to take on the stag even if he has low chances of survival. However, the stag just drops his antlers and rushes away. Gobro is shocked to see this and is about to eat the horns when he remembers that he has to give these to his children. As he's going back to the cave, he sees a human party along with some demi-humans fighting a giant minotaur and his little ones. They take out the little ones with ease, but the mammoth-sized minotaur is a very strong species. He takes out the small heroes and only the leader is left standing alone. Gobro is quick to act and he takes down the beast with a single hit from his arm. The leader comes face to face with Gobro and they are about to fight when our boy senses a large amount of aura coming from the leader's body. This catches him off guard and Gobro appreciates him for putting up a good fight. Not only that, he hides his identity saying that he is working for someone and also gives healing potions in exchange for the Minotaur. The heroes see him off and the leader senses that they would have been killed instantly if they had fought him. Gobro goes back to his cave and starts crying as his kids call him daddy, just like your ex used to call you. He gives them the antlers, which boosts their abilities. He also eats and gets a power-up while Rubelia also gets a new job. At night, as Gobro sleeps, a bunch of crap starts popping up and he just skips all of it to the next morning where we see that Gobro has evolved even further. Another day begins and another problem is on the way. The blacksmith Emery and the alchemist Spinal are also pregnant, but Gobro knows what to do so he remains calm. They find a good place to stop by and the two girls give birth to Gobro's children. Emery Kid is a high orc and Gobro names him Onawaka. Meanwhile, Spinal's child is a human girl, so he names her Nicola. There is a huge difference between the sizes of the two children. After a while, they reach their last destination before the royal capital, which is Port Butori. Ruberia gets a disguise to avoid unwanted attention. Gobro tells the girls to take a rest as he heads over to the guild with Rubelia and the others. At the guild, many adventurers are amazed to see Gobro. They want to test his strength. However, Gobro knows that he can kill them with a single blow, so he offers the other heroes to take on the adventurers. Genki starts crying after defeating the adventurers because he never thought about it. After that, Gobro finds a camera in the market, so he quickly buys it to take silly photos of his kids. At night, Gobro remembers that he completely forgot to keep in contact with the rest of his friends, so he first contacts Hobsato and Hobsy. Turns out that they are hunting kidnappers and bandits to earn a living and get a bunch of supplies. Meanwhile, Goblin is on the top of a mountain and is using her eyes to collect all the information. Gobro knows that she is working hard, so he suggests that she should take some rest as well. Suddenly, Gobro sees himself slashed in half and his breath runs out. Sweat pops out of his forehead and Goblin wonders what is wrong. The next day, Gobro tells everyone about his vision, so he wants to go to the city where Gobkichi is currently. However, this detour will cost them 2 additional days to get to the royal capital, but the princess has no problem with it. As they are going to the city of Gorfus, Godmi is sad because she is lagging behind Gobro and the rest of the girls. She wonders if she is worthy of his attention and Gobro tells her that she will always be the special one to him. It doesn't matter if she can't bear Gobro's child, she will still be his first love. They reach the city and see a dungeon. A bunch of adventurers are running away saying that there is a demonic minotaur inside the dungeon. He talks with the mayor who tells him that they have sent 3 parties to take out the dungeon boss. Suddenly, Gobkichi and Gob come out of the dungeon and they have passed out adventurers in their hands. Gob explains that when they reached the deepest part of the dungeon, they met a monster who turned himself into Gobro. Gobkichi was killed instantly, but the god gave him his blessing and he became a minotaur. Gobkichi challenges Gobro to a rematch and Gobro knows that this will happen. They gather in the arena and the fight begins. The 2 giants are equally matched for each other, but Gobro can't withstand the flames of this minotaur. Gobkichi summons a bull from his shield that gives him a tough time to Gobro, but Gobro gets pissed, so he uses the Dance of 1,000 Spears. Gobkichi is unable to evade those attacks, so he uses his fire magic to jump in the air and land a devastating blow, forgetting that Gobro is his friend. He suddenly remembers what he has done, but Gobro is so angry that he uses the demon roar and sends Gobkichi flying in the air. This gives him a nostalgic vibe from back when he beat Gobkichi for the first time. He is amazed to see how far they have come. The next day, the party reaches the Oswald capital. We learn that the fight between Gobro and Gobkichi continued till the next morning, and in the end, Gobro was victorious. Gobkichi and Goad left for the cave while these folks left for the capital. The capital is a very beautiful place and it is well decorated. Everyone is amazed to see the pavement and the fountains here. They reach the Umber Palace and the princess wants the gang to stay for the night. She arranges a lavish dinner for them and everyone eats to the fullest. At night, the girls have a problem sleeping because they are not used to these luxury and soft rooms. The next day, the princess gives Gobro his payment and a special card that will allow him to enter the capital freely. Gobro asks if she is fine by letting a strange ogre in and out of the capital, and the princess reveals that she checked him on their journey, so he is good to go. The princess acts like a brat, but she has all of her strategies laid up in her mind. The Parabellum mercenary party starts their journey back to their home, but Gobro leaves some replicas just in case. As they are going, Goblin is still sad due to the fact that Godpichi has evolved so much, but she is still just a damper. Gobro quickly stops the crab and tells her that he will never abandon his friends, so he starts her training. He summons a bunch of high orcs and Goblin beat the crap out of them. She ends up defeating 35 of them, but she still thinks that it is not enough. Suddenly, Goblin falls and Gobro barely catches her. At night, they eat dinner and go to sleep, but the next morning something unexpected happens. Goblin becomes a full vampire lord and evolves to a higher rank, which excites Gobro, and he congratulates her. They reach the forest and Gobro can't wait to see their old cave, but it is not a cave anymore. The members have completely renovated it, and it is more like a castle. There are little cats who are the construction workers, but their main benefit is that they are very cute. Suddenly, Gaji arrives and tells that Gobuji is taking his last breaths. Gobro rushes to him and shows him his family and the kids. Gobuji is so impressed by this that it feels like it was yesterday when he picked up Gobro. Gobro reveals that he is now an apostle lord and Gobkichi is a minotaur, but he gives them a strange name. Gobuji says that he can name them better, and everyone looks at him awkwardly. After a few more trash talk, Gobuji dies and Gobro is mourning his death when he sees his knight standing up. They burn the old fart and turns out that Gobuji was only 20 years old. In his memory, Gobro holds a fighting tournament between the party members to rank them based on the skills they acquired through their journey. Gobkichi tells Gobro that he was able to come this far thanks to Gobro, who wants to grow even stronger. There continues till the afternoon, but Gobro ends up defeating Gobkichi. Gobro is very happy to see his family growing, and no matter how many more days he has to live, Gobro takes an oath to make this the best second life. At night, Gobro gets a call, and it is the princess on the other side. She wants Gobro to come to the palace, but in return, she bribes him into taking a reward. Gobro doesn't want to make the kingdom his enemy because now he has more food to feed and a large family to take care of. So the next morning, Gobro gathers all of his close friends and prepares them because they are heading for the royal capital. Gobro can't wait to meet new enemies and eat their meat.